Welcome everyone to the Career Center Spring Professional Series. I'm Sharon Miller-Reyes. I'm one of the Associate Directors on the team. And this webinar, we're gonna talk about Summer 21, Get Started Now. I see some familiar faces in the group. I'm happy to see some of you. Those of you that I've never met, welcome. So I'm going to begin now just kind of covering a few things. I wanted to share with you all first and foremost a little bit about myself. As I mentioned, I'm one of the associate directors. I have a master's in counseling and a bachelor of science in child and family studies from Syracuse University. I have over 13 years of experience in the field of career advisement. So, what you share in terms of challenges or, rewarding opportunities that you may come across, I've worked with this in the past. So, whenever you feel that level of frustration, just know that you are working not only with myself, but other seasoned professionals on our team. I have a chat here. Okay, great. So I wanted to start off by sharing with you all something that you may already have heard. Maybe you've heard it in a class presentation, but wanted to share the Career Center's vision, which is to support the leaders of tomorrow. We believe that our students will be able to think strategically about designing their careers while in college, at graduation, and for life. Our goal is that, after this presentation, you start to embody some of these things. So we need to take on a strategic approach for summer spring planning. For some of you, depending on your industry sectors, you might be feeling like, have I missed some of the deadlines? Am I starting out a little bit later than expected? It is February. So I'm here to kind of share with you how we need to approach this from this point forward, specifically because we are talking about opportunities that are set to begin in a few short weeks, but it's a couple of months away, but it might feel like short weeks away. So the first thing is about getting organized, then it's the application process, and then ultimately making a decision. So I want you to just be sort of cognizant of that process. At some point, I'm going to ask each of you to sort of share with me where you are in your individual process, whether you've begun already or you sort of felt like you've applied to so many places already, you're needing more guidance and support. So the first thing is sort of sourcing and identifying opportunities. So whenever you're working with anyone on the team or you're sort of working independently, it's really important to have verifiable sources that you're using. Okay, so I want to encourage you all to use reputable sites, including CareerLink and others that might be available, and be really, really cognizant of the postings that you're coming across. I think everyone is sort of weary when they see misspellings on a posting, but there are times when you're going to see sort of templated messages that you might be receiving from employers. You're not sure if this is a true employer. I've encountered a few students reaching out about that. So that's that aspect of it. The next part is really conducting company research. This helps you twofold. One, in the process of application, but secondary to that is when the opportunity presents for either that initial phone interview or that Zoom meeting that you might be having with someone, having done some company research beforehand and during this process is going to be really advantageous for you. If you're ever mock interviewing with any of us, we're going to ask you, tell me about why you applied to this opportunity. What is it that draws you to this role? And that's not because we're sort of poking holes in your reasoning, but really to further understand where you're going with this application process, if you're being strategic in this process, okay? The next part is ensuring that all your application materials are up to date and ready to go. And so we'll talk about your career toolbox in a moment, but it's really important. Those of you that have not thought about what's in your toolbox, I'm going to go over that, but it's important to read each and every one of the postings that you're going to come across to assess what you'll need. Some people will need a resume and an accompanying cover letter. Others might ask for transcripts. Others might be asking for a piece of writing sample that you might need to provide them with. So it's important to organize all that. And ultimately, I do want to continue to encourage, and you'll hear me stress it often, the significance of using our resources within the department, whether it's to source opportunities or to work with you through prepping for the interview and ultimately making that decision between one opportunity or the other. I'm not going to sugarcoat it for anyone. I'm going to let you know now that this is going to be a big application month for you. Okay, and while it's going to feel like a lot of work, you need to be thorough. Attention to detail is going to be really critical. So when you are writing to this individual employer, whether you're beginning to network with people virtually on LinkedIn or elsewhere, attention to detail is critical. I'm sure you all have your own set of experiences, but if you've ever had a misspelling, if you've ever referenced a company by the wrong name because you didn't switch up the cover letters appropriately, once that happened, and that's sort of a faux pas at that moment, and you start to feel like, I could have done a lot better, it's the impression that you give off. So here is what I call springing into an internship. So what are the resources that you can use to sort of source for opportunities? First and foremost, I'm always going to encourage you to utilize CareerLink. For those of you that are looking for opportunities in the tri-state area, it's a great resource for you. We have a vast amount of opportunities that you can source for there. Next is within CareerLink, you're going to find our Vault resource. That is going to help you not only source for opportunities, but also conduct company research. Learn a little bit about employer reviews. What are their rankings and what are employees actually saying about these organizations? LinkedIn. If you hadn't thought about LinkedIn before, if you haven't felt like your profile was ready, this is the time, especially since COVID began. People are Googling the candidates more so, I think. Before COVID, I think there was probably a high percentage of employers that were researching and reviewing, but you still had the opportunity for that face-to-face contact. Now there's more research being done. There's more emphasis on that. So, if you do anything after tonight's session, I encourage you to Google yourselves. See what comes up. You want your professional profile to be one of the first things that comes up for you. And then lastly, I would say conducting informational interviews. That's really important, whether that's with faculty, friends, family members. Don't exclusively focus on people that are working in just your field of interest because, 6 degrees of separation, maybe you know someone who is in a field independent of the one you're interested in, who happens to be at a company of interest to you. So that's going to be critical. Creating a spreadsheet. I encourage you all to keep track of every internship that you're interested in. It can get really overwhelming to keep it all in your head or in your email where you're looking back and thinking, did I apply here? When did I apply here? Did I get a rejection from this company? When we are working with anyone, whether it's family, friends, or the Career Center, we're going to say, how many companies have you applied to? When was the last time you communicated with this employer? When did you submit that application? I actually want to share with you all, I'm going to actually go ahead and share this Excel document. Hopefully it shows up for you right now, but let me know if you see it. Is everybody able to see this Excel document? If you could just can't see it? Okay, let me stop that and do my desktop share for a second. Can you all see my Excel document? Okay, I'm gonna make this available for you all, but in this Excel document, we wanna know the company, you wanna know the industry. And the industry is important for people that are considering not just the field of study that they're in, but others. Oftentimes people will say, I applied to every accounting opportunity or every marketing opportunity. And it turns out that when they look back at their applications, they're thinking, well, I did diversify in that occasion. Maybe I applied to this organization because I like their mission, or I know someone who works there and there was a possible role. So really identify whether they were all in one area of industry or you're kind of expanding that. Is it paid or unpaid? That's a personal decision whether you are willing to accept an unpaid internship, but that shouldn't be the criteria as to why you wouldn't accept one, but it's important in weighing your options. Location. For some, I know that there is a desire sometimes to be in your, current geographic location, whether that's home, whether that's near campus, but there are many opportunities that might be available that are remote that you otherwise would not have considered. Organizations that are now kind of branching out and considering applicants from our location, and they might be on the West Coast, but they are offering remote opportunities. And so that's going to be important. And if you choose in this column to just note that it's remote, that would help you as well. I previously mentioned what materials do you need? Organize this section so that you list for yourself, is there an anomaly here? Somebody asking for a writing sample? Is someone asking for my transcript to be sent? So that you're not sort of fumbling at the last minute. deadlines. This is going to be critical. Anytime I work with someone and we're sort of thinking about what's our process here, which company do we want to target first? It's important to sort of set them up. Which are the ones that are coming up first? And I would say if you can, if you have your materials ready, don't delay applying until the closing date. You know, many of the organizations are accepting applicants up until the rolling date, but if you're ready to submit, then go ahead and do it. You know, don't wait until February 28th when the closing date is happening unless you absolutely need to. If you've actually identified a contact there, whether it's a hiring manager, whether you've used LinkedIn to identify a former alumni that you've been talking to, this is the opportunity to kind of note that here. And there's two different columns for it. One is hiring manager specific, and the other one is whether you have been talking to a professional who has said to you, feel free to use me as a reference when you're talking to them about your interest in this opportunity. Okay. And that would be listed here. And anytime we're talking about someone who says, you know, reference me in this individual posting, I say the cover letter is a really great opportunity to also include that information as well. So I'll go back to our PowerPoint for a moment. So that was that, and I'll share that with you all. The other piece is sourcing for connections at a company. How do you do that? For some of you, you may have started doing that on LinkedIn. I just want to ask you now if you can, unmute yourselves or, kind of raise your hands. How many people have been using LinkedIn or YUNVP to kind of identify connections there of people that might be graduates or friends or family at organizations of choice? So if you could unmute yourself or sort of raise your hand. Anyone? No? Okay. Well, I'm going to encourage you as much as possible to take advantage of that. YUNVP, we'll touch upon that. I'll show you what that is, but it is our Flash mentoring platform. I would say it is a really great tool for you to start sort of dipping your toe in sort of connecting with people that you otherwise were not familiar with. It has a lot of similarities to LinkedIn. The variation, I think, with it is that the profile doesn't need to be as robust. It's sort of a work in progress. For some of you, you might feel like, I'm not quite ready to embark on LinkedIn. I don't have substantial information to add in there. But if you're looking for just informational conversations, YUNVP is a great source to talk to people who have volunteered to work with students like yourselves, to talk about, either the major they had, which is similar to your own, the company that they're currently in. There are many templated messages that have already been developed for you all. So you don't need to feel like, I don't know what to say to this individual. You can customize the messages that are there. The only thing that I will say with both LinkedIn and YUNVP, when you're sourcing for connections, the intention is not to say, hi, I'm Sharon, I'm looking for an internship for summer 2021. You don't want to lead with that, okay? You want to introduce it a little bit differently and share with the individual that you've come across their profile, you're curious about the role that they have at their individual organizations. We have already created for you guys on Canvas, which I'll talk about in a moment, different information. We have templated messages that you could use when you are actually working within LinkedIn to send that initial connection note, or if you are going to be sending a personalized message to someone, because there are variations, there are limitations in the link that you might be using. So here is your career toolbox. And so the things that you might find in there are the resume. So we want, again, we need to verify with you all that it needs to be updated. And if you haven't created one, this is the time to do it. We are, more than able in the department to assist you in developing your first resume or in sort of refining the one that you have. What we will say is that simplicity is key. And what we mean by that is that when you look at your individual documents, the goal is to keep that resume onto one page. There are industry sectors, those of you that might be applying with a CV where the length of the document might exceed that, but that is far and few. I will say that now, but for the most part, simplicity is key. So we want to try to keep that. So there's many ways to do that. You can manipulate your margins, the individual spacing between sectors, your individual font size. Again, in Canvas, we can really kind of dig deep into what our resume guides would provide you with. Cover letters, are they needed? I would say, you know, when talking to any of my colleagues and myself at the Career Center, yes, you know, it's about the quality of what you're putting forward. I know I've spoken to people who say I've applied to 100 jobs. Do I have to create 100 individual cover letters? Once you get the ball rolling, it's going to come with a lot more ease where you're sort of relating the posting back to individual sectors that you're applying to. That first cover letter might feel a little challenging to do. The other thing about cover letters, and if you're changing up the resume, is save it on your computer. It's your first name and your last name for the resume. Okay, and the cover letter should both have your name, but also the organization. That's going to help you organize yourself better so that you don't, you know, unintentionally send, CBS, the cover letter for Viacom, or, you know, if you're applying to KPMG, you're not sending EY the letter. You don't ever want to encounter those experiences. LinkedIn, your LinkedIn profile. There are three, I think, key pieces that you need to have on that LinkedIn profile. For sure, it's the photo. That headline is really going to be important to you. And it really should draw attention to your specific skills that you bring to the table, you know, what transferable skills you might have, technical skills that are worth emphasizing, and then, you know, sourcing for what you're looking for, you know. I think sometimes people are looking at it based on their previous position. And so if your previous position concluded and you haven't entered an end date, then to someone you might be connecting with, it might look like you're still employed or interning for someone and you already finished that experience. The last note that I want to emphasize for both, or actually all three of these areas, is that we have this really great tool available to students called Jobscan. Some of you may have used it already, but if you have not, this is your call to action to reach out to someone at the Career Center to set up an appointment to just, you know, have Jobscan demoed for you, and then you have access to a premium account. And what the Jobscan tool allows you to do is to utilize this platform, which is going to emulate what an ATS system does, which is an automatic tracking system. Many corporations and large organizations are using it. And so what they're doing is that you'd put in your resume and the posting to which you are applying, and the system is analyzing it to see if your resume contains the keywords and phrases so that you may get past that system. You know, there are times where I think many of us have applied to opportunities, and within a day or two, you get this rejection message and you're thinking, gosh, did they even look at my document? And sometimes it's just that the system has screened it and you didn't have the right keywords and phrases. You didn't meet the percentage criteria and you were bumped automatically. So that recruiter may not have even had the opportunity to see your resume as you had intended for it. So that's that piece for you there. And moving past that, I'm going to stop the screen share because all these resources, I want to demo them. But before I do, just want to ask, does anyone in the group tonight have any questions? If you do, feel free to put them in the chat and I will check them as we're going along. So I'll stop the slide for a moment and then we'll go to another area here. So here are a number of resources that I mentioned in the PowerPoint. The first is in utilizing the resources that are available to you. The first one I would say is check out the Yeshiva University events calendar. And when you scroll through it, you're going to see that other than our department, there are other departments that are hosting online events. So if you notice, for example, Today, they're doing a technology group on trends in agriculture. There's an MSW info session. There's a cybersecurity engagement workshop. So there are a number of things going on at the university right now, not necessarily this evening, because I do appreciate you all being here, but just in general that you should be taking advantage of, so that you might familiarize yourself with more organizations or individuals at organizations that you otherwise would not have had access to. Then we'll look at the Career Center specifically. This is a very busy month for us. There are a lot of things going on. This evening, we have a panel on engineering. There's something going on, WIPN. There's EY is hosting an info session. We also have a Deloitte info session. There is a Meet a Professional in Education. So there are a number of opportunities, again, to engage with industry professionals for the same reasons we've been discussing tonight. This process of searching and identifying opportunities and applying includes this three-prong approach. It's that resume, that cover letter, the LinkedIn profile, but you also need to actually start putting yourself out there to engage with individuals in the field of interest. This is Vault that I've mentioned before. When you're on CareerLink in our resource center, you're going to see that one of the hyperlinks is for Vault. What you want to make sure that you do first and foremost, when you follow that hyperlink, ensure that the top says that it's powered by the Career Center at YU. If you do not follow that, what you're going to encounter is that the system is going to ask you to put forward payment. We have provided this free of cost for all students to utilize. And it's a really great tool, as I mentioned before. You can explore internships here as well. And you'd put in, the individual keywords and phrases. If you're not sure what those keywords and phrases might be, you could check out the Vault guides and you'd look up the most popular industry sectors. If yours aren't coming up, you go into other industries. What I like about this is that you could go in here and you can see, for example, if we went into, we'll say accounting for a moment, although that's not the one. Oh, I'm not logged in. I apologize for that. So going back here for a moment, if you go into accounting, for example, and you look at this publication, you're always welcome to download it. But if you go in here, which I think is a really unique tool, just give it a moment to load, you could see that it's going to give you background about the industry, whether it's corporate, government, et cetera, but it gives you industry outlooks. And then furthermore, you're going to see a ton of resources. This includes professional associations and organizations that you could also be researching as well. So I think that's another key piece in this process for yourself. Other than that, you can go into Vault rankings and you can see various opportunities here. You can see what the best, internet and social media companies are. What are the best companies for just in general, best internships. And when you click on that and you see the ranking, it'll give you the number for it, but you can also go in here and see what previous interns have said about working for this organization. So, while it's tempting to look at the top 5 or the top 10, always recognize that there are more options below that you may have not considered in the past that I encourage you to explore as well. And then there's always this job site here as well. So that's just that piece of it. Canvas is the other resource that I encourage you all to enroll. It's a really great platform, not just because we put it together for you all, but we have resume guides in here, resume sample templates, cover letters for you all. Within our Career Center tip sheets, you're also going to find information about the top 50 banking and finance companies, consulting, best internships. Again, we're just trying to kind of bring some information that you might be sourcing for in Vault is also available here. But what I wanted to show you all within here as well is that, let's say you were a computer science major. All majors have this as well. You click on it, and when it opens, you can actually see the guide to the major itself. right here. And then on page 2 for it, you're going to see career resources for it. And these sites are also ones that you might consider exploring to source for internships as well as these networking organizations that I would encourage you all to take part in exploring to source for opportunities as well. And then we also have industry guides as well for the individual majors that also provide you with, similar platforms to explore jobs and internships against. This is Jobscan, as I was mentioning before, as another resource. When you first log into the system itself, you're going to see this screen here where you would upload your resume and the job posting of choice. I'll show you all what the system would be doing at that point. So it'll scan it. It gives you a percentage. It tells you what needs to be improved. For example, we'll say that it's missing a headline or this summary. So it analyzes your LinkedIn profile. It can analyze a cover letter based on the company posting, and it's analyzing your resume as well. So, not to harp on the same thing again, but if you've never used this platform, I do encourage you to reach out to someone at the Career Center so you can see this platform in all its many functional ways. And there is a job matcher tool within here as well, which is based on your individual skills. And this is a different way to source for opportunities, and it's powered by Indeed. This is CareerLink, which I believe a number of you have used in the past. But, in order to see our job postings, your profile must be completed. So if you don't see this when you go into job postings, you do need to go into My Account and edit these individual sections. But you'd go in here, you'd type in the key phrases. One of the things that you'll notice before you even do that is that here, the first row is going to give you people that are in your major. These are some hot jobs that are available for you now. These are the latest ones at the next row. These are the ones that are expiring, trending ones, and this is all based on your individual preferences. If you ever need to edit that, you'll go back into the My Account section and modify those for yourselves. And then you'll go back up here, and you could, be as broad as just stating summer, but I do encourage you to kind of be a little bit more specific about what you're hoping to do this individual summer. And then the key piece, I've mentioned already, you want to select things geographically, but sometimes it would be nice to explore things that are available remotely. So you might just want to go in and select by position type. If you're not sure what you're looking for by, keyword phrases, you can put in a keyword like, let's say you said summer, and then you were to select the functional areas that you're looking for. So if you were looking for, let's say, healthcare for a moment and summer, you do search, and then you'd see these 3 that are picking up what you're looking for in that area. When it's looking at it against job function though, just remember that it is individually looking for that phrasing either in the description of the company or in the body of the actual posting. So, if you ever feel that you're not getting as many results as you're intending to source for, you could always clear this area and not apply the job function, and you could just do internship here and find what might be available. So this is just one of the many tools that you have at your disposal. Here is YU MVP, for that informational interviewing, for sourcing additional connections that you otherwise may not have exposure to. You create your full profile. If you have a LinkedIn profile, when you create your account, you can bring some of the content over. It does allow for that. And then you'd click Explore the Community. It will make initial recommendations for you all that you can choose to, engage with or pass on. But beyond that, you can also explore individuals as well. And it tells you when people are also live. So I would say, explore the person's profile, and you'll see they write a little bit about themselves, what this person's passionate about, their professional experience, when they graduated at YU, the topics that they can assist with. So it's a really great tool. And I encourage you to kind of think about this. And some of them have opted to have this here. I would initially begin with that outreach message before I start with message Eliza now. But, if you feel that, you feel comfortable doing the outreach, always remember to maintain professionalism when you're doing that with any of the connections that you might encounter here. And last but not least, we have a career newsletter that the executive director in the department publishes. The last one just went out this week. And I wanted to show you all that within it, she always talks about opportunities. So this week we talked about the tip of the week, which had to do with this event tonight. But as you scroll further down, all the events coming up are listed here, as well as internships and jobs that are coming up for you to explore. So there are many resources available for you to source internships and jobs for this summer. So I'll stop that and I'll go back to our PowerPoint for a moment. Does anyone have any questions before I move forward? No? Okay. So it's really critical to network, especially if you are exploring industry sectors that you don't have any, no direct connection to it. You don't have, friends or family members that are affiliated with that area of industry. This is really going to be critical for you. I can't stress enough how important it is for you to attend the events that are being hosted within the university, within the Career Center. Utilize LinkedIn as well as YUNBP, because the more people that know that you are looking for opportunities, that you're studying this subject matter, it's even better. You don't ever want to apply and sort of your application goes into this sort of the black hole, we'll say for a moment. You want to be engaging with someone. I say start engaging with people before you need them. For those of you that are graduating in a year or two, it never hurts to start establishing that rapport with them. But for purposes of this summer, you can engage with people who intern at that company last year or the year before then to ask them, what was the experience like? So it doesn't always have to exclusively be the hiring manager or the recruiter for the role. Maybe you want to hear hands-on from them. What was that experience like for you? So that might be a tactic. Some of you might be members of clubs on campus that, you have peers who have interned in your field of interest. So, constantly, as the picture demos, you never know who knows whom. And the more people that know what you're looking for and what your needs might be, the better. And then tonight's slides are going to be available. If you use this QR code, you can have access to them. I will have the names of everyone that attended, so I'm happy to share. I think it's hyperlinked. I'm pretty sure everything's hyperlinked, including the Excel doc. But if you feel that you would find use of the Excel doc and you don't get it after this evening, I'm happy to share that with all of you. So I am actually going to stop the recording and open this up for questions from you all at this time.